A two-judge bench of the Supreme Court, headed by Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, today observed that frivolous case listings in the Supreme Court was making the institution dysfunctional. Today, a bench of Justices D.Y. Chandrachud and M.R. Shah, while dismissing a petition, stated that 95% of the cases which was there on his board today, or on the bench's board today, were of frivolous cases. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud-led bench, which heard the suo motu COVID-19 case yesterday, has still not published the order as on Tuesday evening. And the judge today cited in the court that he did not get time to dictate the COVID-19 order since he had to read all the files of the cases that were listed today, and that 95% of those cases were frivolous and that the system was becoming dysfunctional due to this. Observing this, the bench proceeded to dismiss the petition. The Supreme Court today stayed the order of the Delhi High Court holding the imposition of Integrated Goods and Services Tax (IGST) on the import of oxygen concentrators as gifts for personal use to be unconstitutional. The Ministry of Finance had appealed against this order in the Supreme Court today, and Attorney General for India K.K. Venugopal made his submissions before the two-judge bench. The bench of Justices D.Y. Chandrachud and M.R. Shah issued notice in the appeal against the High Court verdict and granted a stay on the same. The matter will now be heard after 4 weeks. Attorney General for India K.K. Venugopal submitted that the GST Council would be meeting on 8th June to discuss this particular issue. Justice M.R. Shah noted that maybe the High Court did not see the objective behind this particular rule and stated that Article 14 has reasonable classification too therein. Justice Shah sought to know from the Attorney General if this particular point was indeed argued in the High Court. The Delhi High Court had taken judicial notice of the fact that liquid medical oxygen was in short supply not only in Delhi but in all parts of the country, which resulted in people scrambling for oxygen cylinders and oxygen concentrators. Well, while hearing its suo motu case regarding the spread of COVID-19 in childcare institutions, the bench of Justices L. Nageshwara Rao and Aniruddha Bose today asked from the central government details about the PM Cares scheme regarding the orphans and how the scheme would take into account the welfare of these particular orphans. Additional Solicitor General Aishwarya Bhati apprised the court that the modality of the scheme was not in place and that would be formulated very soon. Amicus Curiae Gaurav Agarwal was making submissions in the top court today in the suo motu case, wherein he submitted that the PM Cares scheme was brought in place for the orphans of the country owing to COVID-19 pandemic. PM Cares will contribute through a design scheme to create a corpus of rupees 10 lakh for each child when he or she reaches 18 years of age, which will be used to give a monthly financial support from 18 years of age for the next 5 years to take care of his or her personal requirements during the period of higher education. On reaching the age of 23, he or she will get the corpus amount in lump sum for personal and professional use, said the Prime Minister's office statement. Amicus Curiae Gaurav Agarwal submitted before the court that the list of beneficiaries under the PM Cares scheme was not clear and that the central government has to apprise the court about the modalities. Apart from this, the Amicus Curiae has selected a list of 10 states on the number of orphan children in them due to owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the Supreme Court today has directed that all 10 states have to appoint a nodal officer each at the level of a secretary or a joint secretary to communicate with the Amicus Curiae regarding the orphans in their particular states and their welfare and the schemes which have been put in place for them. This case will now be heard next Monday. Well, that's all from Supreme Court today. Do stay tuned with Supreme Court today tomorrow as well, and don't forget to like and share baranbench.com.